Hi, good afternoon. Today I'm going to take on a topic because sometimes it's great to have kind of a framework on how to create wealth, how to become financially free or financially independent, whichever one you choose to talk about. And I found this framework, and I learned this from one of my mentors when I went on a mentorship program with him, a guy called John Asaraf. And this is a model I've been using, and I still use, and I'll keep using to keep building my financial stamina, as it were. And so, what's that framework? Is like a quadrant, and it has E, M, G, P. And I call this a framework to wealth. And what that simply means is E meaning earn, M meaning manage, G meaning grow, and P meaning protect. Yeah? And the key thing is, if you want to become financially free, you must go out there and earn. We're not talking about multiplying the money right now. The key thing you need to do initially is to earn. You must earn money, because it's money you earn that actually can grow. So you earn it from taking on a job, getting a promotion whilst in a job, going and selling something on the side. I love what we say in Nigeria here, your side hustle. Just go earn an extra $5, $10, an extra 10,000 naira, and just go earn. And now, this now is the next stage. Until I understood this next level, I kept falling back to a place of financial insecurity. Usually what people do is when they earn money, they go from earn straight to grow. So they get some money and they now want to put it into an investment. They want the money to grow. They want to multiply. They want to make the money give back to more money. But that's a mistake. The first thing to do once you earn money and you want on your path to financial freedom is actually to manage the money. And what does manage the money mean? It just means you need to learn how to use the money. I remember Rich Dad, you've read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki says his rich dad said to him that the best way to gain financial freedom is learn how to solve your money problems. You don't run away from money problems, you learn how to solve the money problems. And effectively what he was saying is actually learn how to manage your money. And what does that mean? Various folks employ various models for managing your money, but the one I subscribe to and the one most people use, a lot of my mentors use this, is the one that is the 70-10-10-10. And so 70, 10, 10, 10. And what that simply means is 70% of all you earn should be used for your necessities. So to pay your bills, to take the kids to school, to also support your fun and excitement. So everything you spend for your upkeep and your life in general, you should aim to spend 70% of all you earn on those things. And then 10% goes into your giving, and 10% goes into savings, and 10% into investing. And so the key thing about this really is, when people take all they earn, say they take 50%, 60% of all they earn and they put it into an investment that most times they don't even understand themselves, they lose 50, 60% of all they've earned. And that becomes a problem for them, that they find it harder to recover from that. Because again, they are chasing after the money. But in reality, if you're putting aside 10% of all you earn and you're putting it into an investment, even if the investment fails, it only constitutes 10% of all you earn, and you still have 10% in saving that you've also been building up, as it were. So you don't lose anything. So it is a sensible approach to building a life of financial freedom, that you only invest 10%. Now, when you get more successful, you'll find that 70% is too much for you to spend every time. Someone earning a million naira, for instance, some people will probably struggle to keep within 70%. But the point is, a million naira, 70%, you only spend 700,000 on a monthly basis of that. So when you start to earn 10 million, for instance, 70% of 10 million is 7 million. It will be absurd to spend 7 million every month on just useless things, as it were. So in reality, when your life gets better, you might want to move this to 60% and then grow this, as it were. So you can take this to 20, 60 and then make this only 40. It's possible to do that once your life starts to get better. But as a start, aim for 70, 10, 10, 10. And so 10% to giving, 10% to saving, 10% to investing. But I will say this as well. A lot of people are in a place where they cannot actually live on 70% of all they earn. That is not a good place to be. But that is where you are. So you've got to face the fact that is where you are. Now, if you cannot live on 70% of all you earn, it means you can't do this. Then you should not do it. You've got to still do it. And I like what my mentor said, Jim Rohn said. He said, if your financial state is in such a condition that you can't do this, in a bad state that you can't do this, you've got to still do something. And what he says is, instead do 97-1-1-1. So that gives you your 100% of what you earn. Why is it important you do this? Because the discipline of taking that action, of doing that, is much more important than the intensity, the value of it. Because once you learn how to do 97-1-1-1 and it becomes part of your routine, you will move up to say 96-94-2-2-2, which makes this 694-100. So in a very short time, you find yourself, you will grow this. So this can become 85-5-5-5. So nothing stops you from gradually growing this. But the most important thing is you've got to commit yourself to discipline, to the act of doing it. And it's a long game. So if you're not able to do 10% today, that's not a reason not to do it. You've got to do something. So start with your 97-1-1-1 or 94-2-2-2 or 85-5-5-5. But the key thing is that you are starting to manage your money. And you're then beginning to put aside some money. And you will say to me, maybe your 10% is not enough of money to invest in a business. I will show you. Reach out to me and I'll show you investments that you can start it as little as $5, $10. And you start to build it up. So it should not stop you from taking some steps. So when you've done that, then you can then take your 10% and maybe some of the savings, but not all of it, your 10%, and you put it into a growth initiative. So the growth initiative might be in a business, a side hustle. It might be in the market, so in stocks, shares, T-bonds, and all those sort of things. You can start to do that. Again, I can show you some of these things if you need some help with that. Or you can also get into investments in property. And some people say my 10% is nothing. Property is going in Nigeria for 40 million, 30 million, 20 million. A plot of land for 2 million, 5 million, 10 million, 16 million. But my 10% can't do that. The fact is this: you need to put the money aside and grow it, and then you can put it into an investment. Or there are things that are called REITs, R-E-I-T-S, real estate investment trusts. So you don't have to have all the bulk money, but you can have a little fraction of the money, and that money goes into a REIT, a real estate investment trust fund, and then you can make some money from there. It's just the way these things are. But if you don't know these things, you don't know them. But the fact is, you take 10% of all you earn, you put it into grow. And these grow usually are higher risk investments. So you've got to learn the various risk levels of investment. They're not, you don't necessarily lose money on them, but they are higher risk. So things like investments in the financial markets, whether it's stocks, equities, currencies, are usually regarded as higher risks than some other sort of investments. And so you've got to actually have a pot mixed with some of these investments. And you can start it with very little amounts of money if you have the right kind of advice and guidance. And that's what we can help you do. And then the final one is protect. So once all this money start to come out and you start to get some of these funds, you start to get better in your job, you start to earn more money, you push more money, you earn more money here. And what you need to then start to do is start to think about how to protect your assets. So there are very low investments or assets that you can start to push your cash into. So instead of holding a lot of liquid cash, you can then start to push some of the monies into protecting it. So things like gold will always be a regarded asset. So you can push some of your money in gold and other precious metals as well. People that invested heavily in lithium metal are really killing it now. If they did it 10-15 years ago, they are killing it right now, because all the electric cars that are coming out, some of them are based on lithium and battery technology, and so it's become higher demand for that sort of metal. So if your investment had gone in there, it's 1,000%, 2,000% return, and in a very short space of time. So those sort of things are places you can also put your some of that can be regarded as higher risk, but some of it is also and protection. So things like some T-bills and some high net worth investment schemes that, again, if you need support in these things, we know how to help you find the right companies to talk to, or the right investments to go get involved in. And so just reach out to us and let's know how we can help you with that. But then that is how you actually create wealth that lasts. And it's not something that just you see today and tomorrow it vanishes, which is possible for and we've seen it happen with a lot of people. So first of all, you must start to the end. All this wishing I will become very wealthy and you're not earning any money is just hopeless, just empty dreams. To go out there, it doesn't really matter how much you're earning. The most important thing is the discipline of earning, because you will get better. As you get involved, you get more experience, you earn more money, and then you start to follow this whole process. Follow this whole process and you can transform your life. Okay, that's a quick video really, and I do hope you picked up one or two things. But again, any questions, reach out to us. Contact details on below this video. Okay, until next time, you have an excellent week ahead, and let's be in touch. Cheers.